Okay, let's pick up where we left off, page 122. And before we get started, I just wanted to say, hey, I'm trying to start a company. In the About section, there is a GoFundMe link and a PayPal link. If you feel like donating to help me out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Or if the least, go donate to Corey Wayne, because if it wasn't for him, I would definitely not have this knowledge about women and the success that I have, because I was a fucking wacko. But let's get right into it, shall we? Page 122. I was stunned to the point where it left me speechless. I was so sure of myself, and it made me realize that I had become completely complacent. I had not been paying attention to the fact that she wasn't as affectionate as she wasn't as loving. I instantly started thinking about how she had been treating me for the past couple weeks and realized that her interest level had gone all the way from 95% to somewhere around 70%. This was a big shift. It dropped slowly, but I just kept doing one thing wrong after another. My old habits were coming back. All I could think was, here I am, knowing all this stuff about women, and yet I am doing the things that I know better than to do. It took me a couple of weeks, but I did get things turned around and back on track. This happened to me about 6 months after I thought I really had things figured out. I had thought things were really smooth, and this just came along and totally blindsided me. With my understanding of the concepts of this chart, the things she does, and where her level of interest lies, this whole thing really gave me a wake-up call. Without it, I probably would have kept going as I did in the past, until things could have been too late to salvage. It is important to always stay aware and to always underrate her level of interest. You need to pay close attention to where she is at with her interest level, because it drops slowly. You especially need to pay attention if you are in a relationship where you live with someone, or you are married. You are together every day, and it becomes so easy to get caught up in your daily life. All of a sudden you wake up and realize, wow, I've really been messing up here. My lady is no longer in love with me, and things aren't going that well. At that point, you have to turn it around quick and do all the things that made you successful in the first place. Do not take this chart as an itemized list, but rather view it as a perspective of concepts. It is not a definitive guide that says, hey, she touched your arm, now she is in the 80% range. You have to look at all the things she is doing. If you determine that she is in the 71 to 80% interest level, she will also be doing some of the things in the 51 to 60% range, and also the 61 to 70%, as well as in the 71 to 80%. Even then, if she is in the 71 to 80%, act as if she is in the 61 to 70% range. Your goal is to get her to the point where she is completely head over heels in love with you, which is in the 95% range. You have to constantly be aware of getting her interest level up there, which means doing all the right things. For guys that has been married or have been in a long-term relationship, it means all those things you did in the courtship, being a challenge, building anticipation, being completely unpredictable, are necessary. This is not only when you are dating, but also when you are making love to your lady, as we cover in the later section. All these things are absolutely critical to maintain her love over the long term. It is something that you can't ever let up on. If you are going to be in a long-term relationship, you are going there to give. What you are giving is those things that make her happy and keep her in love with you. If you are not willing to do that long term, you shouldn't be in a long-term relationship. 0 to 50% range. One of the things most guys do not understand is if a woman has no interest in you, or if a woman is unavailable, you have no chance of going out with her. You have no chance of her falling in love with you. If she does not like you to begin with, nothing will happen. She may go out with you only to use you if she is that type of person, or if she has a really low self-esteem. When you call her the first time to ask her out after waiting a few days after meeting, she does not remember who you are. When you ask her for a date and she won't agree to a specific day or time, and she gives you the call back to verify, she won't give you a specific date. She tells you she is busy, let's make it for another night, instead of countering with a specific night she is available. Or she says, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I have to get my head together, I don't want a relationship, I'm not into dating anyone right now. What she's saying is, I just don't like you enough to date you. She doesn't ask you for personal information. She doesn't ask you what your name is when you say, it is nice to meet you. She sort of keeps her distance when she is talking to you. She is looking away, kind of disinterested. She gives you one word answers, like when you say, where did you grow up? Response, South Florida. Oh, really? What was South Florida like? Oh, it was nice. She also will call and break your date at the last minute with lame, wishy-washy excuses. She won't let you come to her house to pick her up. When you are talking with her, how is her body facing? Is she turned towards you, or is she turned away in the escape position as though thinking, I hope one of my girlfriends comes up and pulls me away from this guy because I don't want to talk to him anymore? Is she making eye contact? She cuts your date short and seems as though her thoughts are elsewhere. She may simply walk away when you are talking to her. 51 to 60% range. She will give you a hard time about giving you her personal information. She should be making eye contact with you and look like she's interested in what you have to say. When you ask her personal questions about where she grew up, she tells you and then adds on, "Oh, I loved growing up in South Florida. I went to high school down there. It was so blah blah blah." If she likes you, she is going to want to talk to you. Again, the more she likes you, the easier she makes it. She may try to give you a call back to verify date, which you will not accept. You will stand your ground and answer accordingly as mentioned earlier in this section. If after standing your ground on the call back to verify she accepts, then you may be okay. You won't know for sure until you're actually at her front door, since she could break the date at any time prior to that. She also may call at the last minute and try and get you to change the plans. In that case, unless it is an emergency, I may just cancel the date altogether and do the takeaway. I would respond, well, it sounds like it is not a good time for us to get together, so let's just do it another night. If she backs up and keeps the plans as they were, then you just pass her test. If she says, okay, let's do it another time, without naming a specific time and day, then wait a full week before calling to make another date. If she pulls the same thing, then you know her interest level is below 51 and she is out for good. 61 to 70% range. This is usually the range where most girls that really like you will be. She will give you her contact information with little or no hesitation. She may give you several ways of contacting her: email, phone, work phone, cell phone, times to call. 71 to 80% range. She leans in close and bumps into you. She touches your arm. She is really interested in what you have to say and laughs at all your stupid jokes. If she is complimenting you, oh, that's a really nice shirt you're wearing. It's not so much the shirt, it is her way of saying, you look really good. I like the way you look. 81 to 90% range. She is calling you and pursuing you. She is saying, I can't wait to see you again. She is pursuing you heavily and calling you to say, I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I had a great time last night. She gives you her contact information without you even asking. She will ask for advice about her problems. That comes because she trusts you and has a high level of confidence in you. Most of the time, when a woman talks to you, she is not looking for advice. She just wants you to listen. But when she comes out and says, this, and this happened, what do you think I should do? That is her way of asking for advice. 91 to 100%. Love starts at 91%. She will say things like, where is this going? Which means, when are we going to get married? If she says, I love you, that puts her in the 90% range. Other indicators, very affectionate. When you pick her up, she jumps into your arms. She kisses you. She wants to hold hands. She wants to have her arms around you. She is all over you. She just can't seem to get enough of you. Being with you is like a drug to her. She will do just about anything you want. She buys you gifts, writes you cards, leaves you notes, builds you up to others, defends you, etc. This only applies if she is a giver. Some women can be totally gone over you, and if they are not a giver, they will do none of these things. She is calling you all the time, or calling you once a day or twice a day to say, I can't wait to see you again. I had such a great time. That is telling you, hey, I'm wide open. I want to see you. I want your attention. I want all of your presence. When a woman is in love, she wants your attention all the time. She thinks about you and sings about you and is totally consumed by you and thoughts of you. She tells you all the time how much she loves you. She tests you very little, and when she does, they are easy tests to pass. The following story is a prime example of how easy it can be for when a woman has a high level of interest in you. After reading this, ask yourself, why wouldn't I want my dating life to be this effortless? When I first met this woman, she gave me her phone number and actually asked me for mine. I never even had to ask her for her number. She just volunteered it. For the first moment I met her, I maintained my composure. I had just started learning and understanding women and was really getting it. We had just met and we ended up talking all night. We were out with the same group of people for the evening, so it was impossible for me to get her info and just leave. She was touching my arm, getting real close, and whispering in my ear. She would stand so close that we were bumping into each other. She talked about wanting to go out. She was very aggressive. I played my cards right, letting her do all the talking and the anticipation build. 2 days later, when I hadn't called her, she called me. I had built the anticipation so much that her interest level had gone even higher. She emailed me and I responded, keeping it real short. I named the time and place to meet for dinner and we met out and went from there. Excuse me. First of all, she had a really high level of interest to start with, probably in the 70 to 80% range, which is pretty rare when first meeting a woman. She was calling me, pursuing me, and suggested we go out for drinks. I met her at a restaurant, and I remember being really into her. She had beautiful red hair, greenish brown eyes, and an amazing figure. She was drop-dead gorgeous, bubbly, and she liked to laugh. I was enchanted with her. I remember driving to meet her and just knowing I had been playing all my cards right. When I showed up and met her at the restaurant, she was sitting in the lobby. I had only seen her once before. The night I had first met her, and she absolutely took my breath away. She came up and gave me a big hug. I went and sat down. I was really excited to be there and could tell she was excited as well. We had a couple glasses of wine and then had dinner. She must have done at least 90% of the talking. I was fascinated with her. It had been a while since I had been out with someone I had felt that way about on the first date. Sorry, I can't stop yawning. It's really late. I worked my ass off today. I just kept asking her questions because I was so into her. I wanted to know everything about her. I was also building the anticipation. I wanted to wonder I wanted her to wonder what I was all about. Every time she asked me a question, I gave her a short, funny answer, and then I would turn it back around and ask her for another question. She would go on about another 5 minutes about something else. She was an outgoing person and just loved to talk. I was not leaning forward on the table. I was leaning back in the seat to let her see how nonchalant and confident I was about being with her. I always made it a point when I'm initially dating someone to be the first one to end a date. Again, I want to leave her always wanting more. It is like the pro football player that retires at the top of his game. Here we have had a great date, and the anticipation had been building, building, and building. And then I'll ask the waiter for the check, and I'll pay. I could tell the look on her face was saying, oh, I'd really like to sit here and talk some more. While it was not quite disappointment, I knew she could have sat there a lot longer and talked. We got up and walked out. I turned to her, started to say, where did you park? I had really done a great job of building the anticipation. I think I only got a single word out before she just grabbed and kissed me. She started making out right there, only 3 feet outside the front door of the restaurant. Inside, I was going nuts and just loving it because I was totally enamored. I was fascinated with her. I walked her to her car and we made out some more. Then I opened the door for her, let her get in, and I said, I had a nice time. I remained totally composed, even though inside I wanted to jump up and down and do some cartwheels in the parking lot. I left feeling amazing. I did everything right on the first date, the whole time from the day I met her until the day we had our first date, because she had had such a high level of interest to begin with, and she was a very aggressive, beautiful, confident woman. She just couldn't help herself anymore. She just had to kiss me. Of course, I didn't have any problem with that. The next day she called me again. This is what happens when you play all your cards right, especially when you have a woman that has a high level of interest in you. To start with, why would you want to bother with someone who doesn't have a high level of interest when life can be so effortless? I only had to show up, hang out, and say very little. It was so relaxed and so easy to be with her because she made it so easy. I was not feeling confident on the inside, but I showed her that on the outside. You become comfortable with being yourself. You make it a part of who you are. Sooner or later, you're going to own it, and you have to own it. Because if you can't maintain it later in the relationship, if you ever let that down, then you are not the person she thought you were in the first place. She will see weakness, test, and pull away. This makes you start to pursue her, which drives her even more away. Learn how to read her interest level and make it a natural part of who you are and what you do, and you will win the heart of the woman of your dreams with little effort. Part 6. The first step. Your first date. You do not have to be extravagant on your first date. You want to take her out to dinner, someplace nice. Going to the movies is not a good idea on your first date. You want the opportunity to get to know someone. If you go to pick a woman up for a movie date, the only time you get to talk is in the car on the way to and from the movies. At the end of the date, she doesn't know anything about you, and you don't know anything about her. When you are in a dark theater, you can't read her body language. It is important to go somewhere where you are talking and interacting with each other, so you can read where her interest level is and work toward rising it. Take her to dinner. Go someplace where you can talk, someplace that is nice and quiet and intimate. A lot of rich guys will say, I'm going to fly you to New York in my private jet. Any woman would love to go out and do stuff like that. Before you spend your money doing these kinds of things, you want to make sure you are going out with someone that has a high level of interest in you. Personally, take her to nice but inexpensive places at first, until you really get to know her and you know that she is interested in you. I like going to the sushi restaurant or a restaurant where we can sit down in a booth and talk. It is important, especially for guys who are successful, not to spend the night talking about your achievements, how much money you make, and what kind of car you drive, what watch you have on, or how much you spend on your wardrobe. None of this raises her interest level. If a guy starts talking about all these accomplishments, what it says to a woman is that he is insecure about who he is as a man. She reads it as a deflection away from who he is as a person. He comes off as needy, insecure, and unsure of himself. The only type of woman that will respond to this type of thing is a woman who is looking to use a guy or one that is looking for security. The most important thing to remember on your date is that a woman wants to know you are interested in her. You show her that by asking her questions. Another topic to avoid is talking about your future together. That includes taking her out in the future, or that includes don't talk about taking her out in the future, or at the end of the date asking her for a second date. If you start talking about your future dates together, you are basically going to lower your chances of having a future with her. You want the topic of a future together to be her idea. To talk about a future together is completely anti-challenge and does not create any anticipation. Remember, you want her to be curious. If you tell her everything that's going to happen, there's no anticipation, no challenge, there's nothing to look forward to. You become boring and predictable. While you are on a date, you're going to be watching her for signs of interest. Is she touching your hand? Is she touching your arm? Is she looking into your eyes? One of the things you need to do is to look into her eyes. Don't be looking around, looking at other women, or checking out the waitress. You need to be completely focused on her. When you look around and check out other women, She's going to think that you are being a pig and that you are only trying to get laid. Your complete focus needs to be 100% on her having a good time and finding out everything there is to know about your new lady. Another important point needing to be made is that women remember everything. They will remember where you went, what the restaurant was like, the people around you, and they will remember what you talked about. Listen up, guys. You need to really focus on the answers a woman is giving you to all the questions you are asking her. Make no mistake, you will be tested. She wants to know that you were really paying attention and cared about what she said. She will bring little things up here and there to test you, whether or not you are listening. If you pass those tests, it will definitely raise her interest level because now she knows you're interested in who she is. If you fail her test, she will keep testing you. Do's and don'ts on the first date. Do not spend the time talking about you. Do not let her do most of the talking. Don't badmouth your ex-girlfriends or wives. Don't badmouth her ex-boyfriends or husbands. Say positive things about your past relationships or do not say anything at all. Don't compliment a woman except maybe to tell her she looks nice when you pick her up or that you had a nice time at the end of the date. Don't take her to extravagant places on the first date. If a guy starts spoiling a woman right away, she will expect that kind of treatment. It is anti-challenge and anti-anticipation. Do take her someplace nice, quiet, intimate, and inexpensive until you get to know her and know that she is interested in you. Don't talk about sex, even if she is the one to bring it up. Change the subject if she brings it up. Most guys just get caught up in themselves, in trouble with this subject. Just be a gentleman. If she is pressing you about past relationships, don't give in to her pressing. Tell her that a true gentleman is not going to share personal information about anyone that is given into confidence. I suck at reading. Don't treat the service people badly. Most women have been involved in the service industry before in one way or another. And if they see you treating another individual in a demanding manner, they will often read that as a sign of demanding individual you may become later on in the relationship. Tip your waitstaff appropriately. Too many guys will shortchange a waiter. I have heard of women who get embarrassed and slip extra money on the table. It shows that you are cheap and that you do not appreciate the things others do for you. You motherfucking dick. The secret of dating. The whole experience of dating is what raises a woman's interest level in you. It is how you ask her out when you call her on the phone and the anticipation of what is going to happen on the phone. Okay, I fucked that up. Let me back up. Sorry, guys. It is how you ask her out when you call her on the phone and the anticipation of what is going to happen on the date. Don't call her and tell her everything you're going to do on the date. Where you're going to go, what time you're going to do this, and what time you're going to do that. You want it to be a surprise. You want it to be an unfolding of the evening. So as the days approach, she is now thinking about you. She is thinking about what she's going to wear. She's probably telling her friends, and she is looking forward to it. Since you have a definite date, it drives her crazy, wondering if you are going to even show up. It creates excitement in her when you do. Remember, you are setting a date almost a week in advance. Most guys will call before they come. I actually had one woman I went out with that wasn't ready when I showed up. When I asked her why she wasn't ready, she replied, "Honestly, I didn't think you were going to show up." I said, "I told you that I'm a man of my word." She proceeded to tell me that most guys call before they come to pick her up. I was completely different. It set me apart because no guy has ever treated her that way before. When you go to pick her up and you're a gentleman, You open the car door and you take her to a nice restaurant. There you are. It is the experience of having a nice dinner, great conversation, and just having a good time. Whatever it is you are doing, for a woman it is the whole experience of the date that is important. The less she knows, the more it heightens her anticipation and the higher her interest level becomes. Do not make the mistake of thinking, I took her to dinner, and great, I am ready to go home and have sex. Women don't operate that way. They warm up to you. Their hearts open a lot slower because it is all about the whole emotional experience. So you have made your date. It gives you such a comfortable feeling to know that you have done everything right to this point. You played your cards. She tested you a little bit. You passed her test. Now you have a definite date. One of two things is going to happen. Fuck. Sorry, guys. Either you're going to show up on her doorstep and you're going to go out and have a great time, or she's going to cancel that motherfucker. Or she may even call and try to change the plans. We discussed this in the previous section. If she calls and tries to change the plans, it is a sign of low interest. Try to redirect her back to your plan and give her the takeaway. If you call a woman that you met through a mutual friend, you ask her out on a date and she says, I'd rather meet you out somewheres. This is a sign of low interest. Having met through a mutual friend, she already knows that you are safe. If she doesn't want you to come to her door, it is because she doesn't have a high enough interest level in you. Don't waste your time with women that have a low level of interest. I can't stress this enough. The higher her level of interest is, the easier she's going to make the date and the more fun both of you are going to have. In addition, you need to ask yourself this question. How many women have you taken out where you can't even remember their name? Dating can be an expensive proposition. The dollars add up quickly. Do you really want to spend all that money and time on a woman that is not romantically interested in you? So you show up to your date and pick her up. You're going to dress nice. You're going to look good. You're going to shave. When you do show up, you are not going to compliment her. You don't need to tell her she's beautiful. She already knows this. It will not raise her interest level. When you pick her up, you can say something like, you look nice. At the end of the evening, you can tell her, I had a nice time. Don't elaborate on that. Move on to the rest of the dating experience. Again, when you are on the date, you will be a gentleman. You will hold the doors open for her, open the car doors. When you walk down the street, you will take her arm to cross the street. You are not going to hold her hand. You are not going to put her arm around her. You're not going to put your arm around her. A lot of guys think, hey, I'm on a date, I can touch her and hold hands and put my arm around her. Women will let you know when it is okay to touch. They will give you an invitation. The invitations are usually subtle, so again, you have to pay attention. When you are walking down the street, is she constantly bumping into you? Is she tapping your arm or brushing her hand on your arm when she is talking? Does she have a really high level of interest? If she has a really high level of interest, she may even grab your hand and start holding hands with you or put her arm around you. It is amazing to see, when I pay attention to these things, just how much women are telling you without words. It's all about her body language. Excuse me! I've had cases where I will be walking with a woman down the street and we are on a big sidewalk. I will gradually start walking away from her. I've actually done this before. It's funny. They gravitate to you. She will either maintain the distance or she will bump into me. If she is bumping into me, that is a sign of higher level of interest. It's her signal to you that touching is okay. If she is working to maintain that space between you, then she has a lower level of interest. On one date with women, Okay, it's a typo. On one date with woman, there's a typo in this book. Okay, anywho. I'm going to say it again. This is exactly how it says in the book. On one date with woman, I was walking downtown on a wide street that had been closed to vehicle traffic for the evening, for pedestrian traffic to the bars and restaurants. We were in the middle of the street, and since there was so much space, I started walking slowly over to one side, away from her. It was funny to see whether she would keep walking along with me. She didn't even notice it. I was pretty much walking all over the road, having fun with it. It shows that she was pursuing me, and that demonstrates a high level of interest. Most of the time, she isn't even aware that she is doing this. Inside, you can be chuckling because you are reading her level of interest and know exactly where she is at. These are the types of things women will do. If she grabs your hand, then it is okay to hold hers. If she puts her arm around you, then it is okay to put your arm around hers. The higher her level of interest and the more comfortable she feels, the more she will start to touch you. You need to let her get the info. You need to let her give the invitation. If she has her arm around you and then takes it away, you do the same until she gives you the next invitation. It is another subtle test women use to see if you are pursuing her more than she is pursuing you. When you have passed the test, she will eventually give you another invitation when it is okay to touch her again. All the while you are heading to the restaurant, you will be keeping it funny and keeping it light. Joke around with her. She will probably ask you about previous girls you have dated. She might ask if you are dating or if you are married. You want to give her an answer, but whatever the answer is, you want it to be positive. As I mentioned before, too many guys decide to get all their baggage out on the table. This was my problem. I fucking sucked at that shit. You don't want to do this. Guys want to go on and on about their problems. On the date, she should be doing 80% of the talking. You want to ask questions. Women want to know that the guy is sincerely interested in who they are. You want to see, they want to see that you want to know what they are about. A lot of guys, not only when they meet a woman, but when they are out on a date, or even when they call a woman on the phone to ask her out on a date, will either dump all his baggage on her, or he will sit and talk about all his accomplishments. Okay, let me just stop right there. I got dumped. Well, not dumped. I wasn't dating, but I went on a coffee date with a girl, and I made the big ass mistake of going on and on and on about my fucking family and how fucked up my family was, and how I hated my job, and I was basically using her as a counseling, and she was just like, yeah, wow, yeah. She was just like, and she was doing that, and I was like, damn, this girl really wants to hear my problems. Fuck that. That dude. She never answered my call again. Like, I thought she was so interested in me, but dude, that was it, bro. She fucking thought I was a wacko. Okay, back to the book. Guys try to impress her. They try to do all these extravagant things. It is not what is needed to raise her interest level. When you take her out to dinner, continue being a gentleman and continue keeping the conversation light. If she asks you questions, give her only enough information to generally answer her, and then turn it back around and ask her another question. If she continues to press you for specifics, for example, of your past relationships, just simply tell her, a true gentleman is not going to share that information with others. That is personal and private. I don't have a problem with mentioning good things, but to discuss intimate details is not something a gentleman would do. Besides, the past is the past. Okay, let me stop right there. What he's trying to say is you don't want to go and basically say like, this ex-girlfriend fucked me over and cheated on me and blah blah blah. You just basically want to say like, it didn't work out and I'm just trying to find somebody new that I get along with. Anyways, let's get back to the book. It is between me and the woman in question. A gentleman doesn't go around telling intimate details of a relationship. A woman you just have met should accept and understand this. The chances are high that it will also make her feel more comfortable, because she can rest assured that you will treat any information she shares with you in the same manner. It also raises her interest level. Now she can feel more comfortable about opening up to you and sharing more personal things. She knows you will keep your mouth shut and not blab intimate details she tells you to everyone you meet, especially your guy friends. Again, 75 to 80% of the talking should be done by her. You should ask her questions. Remember, the person asking the questions is the one in charge of the conversation. The goal is to find out everything you can about her. Find out where she grew up, what she likes to do for fun. Keep it funny, keep it light, and stay away from serious subjects. If she presses you about a serious subject, always be humorous and joking. You want to make her laugh and smile. You want to have a good time. Your sole purpose on the date is to make her feel comfortable, make her laugh, and to get her interest level to go up. The only way at this stage that you can raise her interest level is to be funny, humorous, and show her a good time. Keep it positive, make it totally fun experience for both of you. Okay, off the book. If what I would do is I make funny faces like this. It's like, what do you want? Where do you? It's like, where do you want to go now? Then just do something really stupid like that. If she doesn't like your stupid faces, then she's probably not a good girlfriend. She probably doesn't like you that much. Okay, back to the book. While you're on your date, pay attention to what she is saying, but don't lean forward as though you are absorbing her presence. Lean back in your seat and be casual. Show her that you are confident and centered. After you have spent time with her on a date, you need to make sure that on you need to make sure that you are the one to end the date. You should ask for the check and pay for dinner, signaling the end of the date without words. While you are doing this, watch for her reaction. Does she seem disappointed? Does she seem as though she could have kept talking and surprised by you ending the date so soon? These are all good signs that you have raised her level of interest even more. The kiss test. Ooh. At the end of the date, let me just stop right there. I just want to say one way that I got a kiss from this girl. I was making out with this super hot chick. She was 20 years older than me. And I could tell that she was like googly eyes towards me. Like she thought I was really cute and I had done everything right. And I was asking her questions and I kept her talking. And like the more that I kept her talking, the more that she would look into my eyes. And eventually the conversation ended up like coming to an end where we're just looking at each other. And I just said, and I was so scared to say this, but I just said it anyways. I just said, well, would it make you feel better if you came over here and kissed me? And she started laughing. And I was like, come over here and kiss me. Just lean over and kiss me. Come here, lean over. And she leaned over and kissed me. And we started. Okay. At the end of the kiss test, at the end of the date, you have been a gentleman and handled yourself correctly. You take her home and walk her to her door. The final test of the evening to see if she is truly interested in you is the kiss test. You're going to want to go for the goodnight kiss. You want to kiss her on the lips and see if kisses you back. If she is really interested in you, she will kiss you back. If she turns her head and you get the cheek, it shows she doesn't have a high level of interest in you. At this point, you know that to go out with her again would be a waste of time. One thing you want to do is go in for the kiss and try to kiss her on the cheek. Wait. One thing you do not want to do is go in for the kiss and try to kiss her on her cheek. Do not kiss her on the cheek. That's something that you do to your mom. To a woman, she immediately takes this as a signal of your low interest level or a lack of confidence. A woman will read it as the kiss of death, even though you might be trying to be a gentleman. To give her a kiss on the lips shows confidence. It tells her, I know I'm good enough for you. Here, let me show you. You are showing her your strength and that you are totally in your masculine. All night long, you have found out everything about her, and she has found out little pieces and bits about you. You have shown your interest, while at the same time remaining a mystery to her. If this evolves into a long-term relationship, she has plenty of time to pull information out of you. She has ample time to find out all of your insecurities, but for now, it is not important. At the very beginning, in order to raise her interest level, you have to leave her wondering. Okay, let me stop right there because I've been on multiple dates where I was with a girl that really wasn't that into me. Well, she was into me like sexually, but not mentally. So it was just really strange because the only way that I could keep her interested, or the only way, like, she wasn't a talker. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. She wasn't a talker, so I had to do all the talking. But um, I guess if a woman isn't a talker, she either A, just wants to fuck you. Yeah, probably not a good relationship status. But anyways, let's get right back into it. Sorry, guys. After you give her a goodnight kiss, you are going to say, I had a good time, or it was a nice evening. Don't elaborate. Stay in your center and leave her wondering just how good of a time you had. Make her think about whether everything went all right or not. She will replay the date over in her mind, looking back at all the clues. You are not giving her the answer. You are remaining a mystery. The whole time she is thinking about you and how the date went, her interest level is going up. Oh man, let me stop right there. I got another thing to talk about. I've been on dates where the woman wanted me to talk. She's like, "Oh my god, I love you. I love hearing you talk." So the way that Corey is explaining this situation, it's a little bit different than I usually do. But the way that Corey does it, it's better because, um, like, even though this girl really, really, really liked me talking and stuff and blah blah blah, the relationship ended up only lasting like a month or two. So, anyways, I'm not a dating expert, but I have been around. Okay, page 142. Now you are going to leave. You are going to tell her that you will call her. You are not going to set up the next date or even talk about going out again. You are going to leave her wondering. The same calling principle that I outlined previously applies to all dates for the first 60 days. Oof, I may have forgot that part. So if you went out with her on a Thursday night, you won't call her until Monday or Tuesday to ask her out for a Wednesday or Thursday date. You should remain consistent for the first 60 days. When you don't call her the next day after your date, she is wondering whether you liked her or not. Man, the more that I read this book, the more I realize how much I fucked up. If she is wondering about you, it is raising her level of interest. If her interest level goes up high enough, she may eventually call you. Having a woman pursue you is the ideal place that you want to get to. There is no doubt in your mind at that point that her level of interest is high. I just want to say another thing. I had a girl I was going out on dates with, and she was calling me, and I was just so fucking like shocked. I was like, what? This girl is actually calling me and chit-chatting with me on the phone? But I made the mistake of I started to call her. I thought because she called me, then I could call her the next day. And then it eventually got to the point where I was just doing all the calling, and that fucking went nowheres. Sorry guys, I'm fucking chopping this book up. I'm just trying to put my point of view in here. Hopefully that helps, but it's probably not. So I should probably just get to the book. I done lost my place where I was reading. The kiss test does not always have to wait until the end of the date. If you are reading her signs and level of interest correctly, you may find that she is signaling you early on in the date. I was on my first dinner date with one woman and had been talking for hours. I was doing everything right and asking questions and letting her do 80 to 85% of the talking. At one point she asked, Can I give you a hug? You are so sweet and I'm having such a good time. I said, of course. We hugged, and 2 more times after that, she asked me to hug her again. The second time, I sat back down and we started talking some more. She was leaning in really close, and at that point, her chair was right next to me. That's basically what happened to me with that girl when we were talking, and she just kept looking into my eyes like she was just so happy to be there with me. So she was just looking at me way too hard, and I just said, come over here and kiss me if you want. I was like, you want to kiss me? I was like, you look like you want to kiss me right now. And when she laughed and giggled, then I was like, come over here and do it. I know you do. And we did. And we made out for like 18 hours. Anywho, and then she broke up with me because I forgot the fucking fundamentals. Anywho, I just knew the time was right and that she was ripe for it. I moved over and started kissing her. Now I've never leaned in and started kissing a woman. That's why I'm reading this fucking book again. We were the only ones left in the restaurant, and we actually started making out right there. It was the fulfillment of the kiss test. I had built anticipation and challenge so well at this point that she wanted to embrace me. She didn't actually kiss me, but the fact that she wanted to touch and hold me said that she was open to it. The invitation had been issued, so I didn't wait until the end of the date. Later, she told me, it really stunned me when you kissed me. I wasn't really ready for that. I was surprised and didn't like it at first. I replied, I could tell you didn't really like it since you had your tongue in my mouth. Oh, by the way, that girl that I was making out with, she was like, oh my gosh, I just met you today. I can't believe I'm kissing you. And I was like, well, you like me. You want to kiss me. And she went with it. It was pretty cool. Thank you, Corey Wayne, for that. The whole time I'm making out with this girl, I'm like, thank you, Corey Wayne, so much. I didn't just kiss her. She was kissing me back. Again, a woman will say one thing, but her actions will say something else. Here's another example to illustrate how easy it can be when a woman shows that high level of interest in you. Weddings are a great place to meet women. Everyone is happy and having a good time, and the chances are, if you find a woman you are interested in, that you will already know somebody that knows her. I went to a wedding with a friend of mine from high school. I was about 27 at the time, and his cousin, a beautiful redhead, was 18. During the rehearsal and everything, she kept staring at me and checking me out. That's a really high level of interest. The day of the wedding, at the reception, I walked over and started talking to her. She proceeded to tell me she had specifically asked one of her friends at the wedding for a pen and a piece of paper, so in the event that I asked, she could be prepared to give her number and contact information because she really liked me. Okay, first of all, let me just reiterate something. This girl that was checking Corey Wayne out, literally before they started talking, she went over and got a pen and paper just in case this man would come over and talk to her so she could give him her number. She was going to write her number down on a piece of paper for him if he came over. He must have winked at her or something. I don't know. Because so she was prepared to give her number away to him because she really liked him. So they ended up hanging out, dancing, and having a good time. During the evening, she was touching me, and at one point, she was sitting in his lap. Oh my, I bet that booty was soft. After that, went outside the reception hall, and we sat down in the grass. We were talking, and she was sitting real close. I couldn't help myself. I had to kiss her. She had been giving all the signals of an invitation. She was pursuing me during the course of the evening, touching me, telling me she liked me, and even the fact that she had a high level of interest from the beginning. This girl went out of her way to make it easy for me. She wanted that old man ding-a-ling. By the way, because he was like 28 and she was 18, so she must have liked older guys or him in general. But anyways, I'm not gay, but Corey Wayne is a handsome guy, so usually especially 18-year-old horny women are going to check out cute guys. I had a 18-year-old check me out today in the grocery store. She looked at me and smiled, and I just looked at her like, bitch, I hadn't read the book yet. Don't look at me. I fucked that shit up. Anyways, the right approach. I was at a 4-day retreat for personal growth, something that I am very passionate about. There were about 50 people there, all with the same focus. The first night I was checking everyone out to see what kind of people were there. I spotted this one woman with dark hair, dark eyes, tan, with a nice figure and nice smile. I didn't think a whole lot about it at the time. I thought she was cute, even attractive, but it didn't hit me as a big deal. The next afternoon at lunch, we were sitting at the same table with one of her friends between us. We were talking and got on the subject of movies. I love movies. Her friend started telling me how she liked The Lord of the Rings, and we all went on talking about that. The woman had noticed the day before, started asking me all kinds of questions, joined the movie discussion, and my interest level actually started going up. So he wasn't that interested in her, but because of what they were talking about, they had similar interests. Corey's interest level went up for her. I thought, this girl is really charming. There's something about her. She has an energy that I really like. So as we were talking, I start into my playful mode and start joking around and teasing her. Okay, so this is something that I have not mastered. As for joking and teasing, I can only do that with women I don't like. So, I mean, usually the women that I'm really interested in, the really hot ones, usually like when I try to tease them, they get all pissy. So, I mean, I guess I got a lot more work to do. But anyways, we finished lunch and went back into the event. Later that evening, we all went to dinner together. I was being cocky, but she was also very confident in herself. She started talking about past relationships and men in her life. She told me about how guys would come up and hit on her and how they come off very weak. There were stories about guys she had blown off and they never even realized what had happened. She was used to getting her way with guys, even the ones she dates, because no one stood up to her. So she starts asking me, "What do you do?" I told her, "I am an author, a speaker, and most of what I do is to teach people how to understand relationships. Right now I'm working on a book to teach guys how to understand women." She laughed and asked, "You are teaching guys how to understand women?" Her tone was implying that I had no clue as to what I was talking about. Yes, that is so fucking true. You have no idea. Like, when I tell people what I'm doing, they're like, yeah, right. It's fucked up. Well, no, I mean, it is fucked up. But actually, I feel defensive. I'm like, what the fuck? You don't believe me? You think I'm making this shit up? It was all a test. I didn't know she was testing, though. I thought she was just being an asshole or she was just a prick. Anywho, I had been teasing her and being playful all day and then again all night at dinner. She sensed my confidence and cockiness, and she was testing to see if she could deflate me. Oh. I started teasing her and being even more playful. How the fuck do you tease women, Corey? Fuck. What do you say? That ass looks fat in those jeans. I don't know. I tried that once and it didn't work. She was fucking pissed. She started telling me that she didn't like me and said, "You aren't a very nice guy. You're mean." She was being playful. Yeah, the one I said that to was not being playful. She wanted to fucking kill me, it seemed like. But in a not so playful way. She was trying to intimidate me. Beautiful women are master intimidators. No, I think I may have teased the wrong woman. That's probably what happened to me. Everyone around us having a good time and laughing at the interaction between the two of us. Here I was sitting with the whole group of girls and she was trying to make me look bad, as though I didn't know what I was talking about. So I started giving her a taste of the information I was working on, which was what I knew about understanding women. I explained the way women are, what motivates them, why they do what they do, and why guys do what they do. As I start telling her what I knew about women and explaining all these things, over the course of about half an hour, she went from a real hardcore, you know nothing about women, to, I guess I was wrong. You really do know what you're talking about. So stop. Basically, what Corey Wayne basically did was like, hey, look, I know you might not believe me, but look, let me convince you. And then he basically convinced her. So he probably did a lot of talking at that point and won her over. So good job, Corey. This is why I'm one of your students. She had been testing me, and by staying centered and believing in who I was, she started to change her mind about me. After that, she told me, I really didn't like you at first, but you're really a cool guy. I gotta go to bed soon, holy shit. Beautiful women will often bluff you to test and see if you were really confident. That's only if they like you, though. You should have put in the book, beautiful women that like you will often bluff you to test you and see if you are really confident. Her bluff was in saying that she didn't like me, and it was her test to see if I would remain my center and be strong in who I was. I called her bluff, and some of her barbs had been pretty negative. It went from her telling me she didn't like me to telling me she did, and after a couple of glasses of wine, she started saying, Corey, I love you. You are so sweet. This whole time she was touching me and moved her chair closer. We sat there, continued to talk. I kept my hands to myself, maintaining my composure, and leaning back in my chair. She was leaning forward and touching me. Sorry. We all decided to go back to one of the girls' room. Each of us had these big jacuzzis that could fit comfortably 8 people. So we start to walk around the room. So we start to walk towards the room, and we get about 10 feet away from the dinner table, and she grabs my hand and told me she wants to hold it. I went back to my cabana and got changed, and we all ended up hanging out for another couple hours. All this time, we were talking, teasing, joking back and forth. That's a lot of motherfucking teasing, dude. Holy shit, man. Teasing for 4 hours, bro? Damn. Bro, I would have been butthurt. Holy shit. On the third day, during the event, she would come over and sit next to me. Sometimes she would get up and leave with her friends. A little while later, she would come back and sit next to me. Remember the cat analogy? At one point, she said, let me crack your toes. I've had a woman do that before. I thought it was kind of weird, but whatever. So she grabbed my toes and proceeded to crack them. It really hurt. I said, oh, that hurts. Later in the day, I was sitting outside the event on this low 3-foot wall, and she came over, grabbed my feet, and started cracking my toes. She's a toe cracker. It really hurt. I got up and said, give me your hand. She gives me her hand, smiled with a look that said, what are you going to do now? I lifted her hand up, spun her around, and she spins, and I spanked her on the butt, but firm way. You naughty boy, you. She turned around with a stunned look on her face and said, brat! Then she tried to spank me. I grabbed her hands and told her simply, I'm the spanker, not the spankee. She said, you can't spank me. I told her, well, if you weren't a brat, you wouldn't get spanked. Dang, now I want to spank her. I was being totally playful, and there was a shift that happened in her. I don't want guys to read this and think they can just simply get away with something like this. Fuck no! That's a fucking master. And plus, she was really into you anyway, so. She had an interest level probably in the 70 to 80% range. Probably the 80 to 90% range, actually. You can only get away with these things like this if you totally own who you are. Don't just go out and grab the hand of a woman you meet and start spanking them. I tried that once. That shit backfired. You have to be playful, but totally own your masculinity and be assured of what you are doing. Later that night, which was the last night of the retreat, we were sitting at the jacuzzi talking again. At this point, there was another guy that came into the group. He would be considered a blocker, cock blocker, alert, alert, warning, 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 cock blocker, cock blocker. And it was obvious he was also interested in this woman. Oh man, that's the worst. They have no respect. All they're thinking is with their ding-a-ling. As well as another one that was present. Damn, 2 cock blockers? Oh, he was interested in 2 women? Damn, what a pig. I was watching this guy continually going over and touching her, and she was touching him back. Oh, so she was a little freak. I maintained my composure and just sat there throwing little funny remarks at her. She started telling me how she didn't like that. To show me how much she didn't like it, she just kept swimming over to where I was in the jacuzzi and proceeded to playfully slap or hit me. I would grab her and wrestle with her, dunking her underwater. Dang, the dude, the cock blocker seeing that, bro, you're cock blocking him. What the fuck? Then she proceeded to tell her 2 girlfriends, Corey spanked me on the ass yesterday. He can't do that. They told her how they thought it was funny and playful. She was looking for them to gang up on me and bust my chops, which they didn't because they really like me too. Every few minutes, she was away from me and would say something, and I would throw some funny little barb back at her. She would come back to my side of the jacuzzi and start wrestling with me. One time I was over by where the seat was, and I pulled her out of the water and spanked her bottom and pushed her back into the water. Okay, let me just stop right there. So at one point in this gathering, Corey is spanking her butt, and she's trying to spank him. So they're basically, the whole topic of discussion is like, let's spank each other's butts, like little kids. This actually sounds like a really wonderful time. I gotta try that one day. Later, she started again to tell me how she didn't like me, and so on and so on. Okay, so she's saying that she doesn't like him because that's a test. She's just saying that to get a rise out of him. To basically, I don't like you, but she really likes him. But she was just, women say one thing but mean another. That's what he meant earlier in the book, and so on. And she was saying, I don't like you in a joking way. If she could have been like, if she really didn't like him, she'd have been like, look, I don't fucking like you, dude. Don't fucking touch me. Okay, so on and so on. I looked right at her and said, that's not true. She turned to her friends for support and complained that I was doing this and that to her. Her 2 girlfriends basically said, we haven't seen anything like this since we were in grade school. It was really fun to watch. It was obvious that you really liked Corey. She replied, no, I don't. They said, yes, you do. Every 5 minutes you keep going over to him, wanting to play with him, touch him, and wrestle with him. You wouldn't do that if you didn't like him. This is the effect you have on a woman when you are being playful but still in your center. Now I want to be clear. She did have a boyfriend. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. So I didn't kiss her or anything, but I did touch her butt. I was just being playful and having fun with her butt. We do belong to the same organization, so who knows? Maybe I'll see her a few months down the road, and maybe she'll be single at that time. If a girl is letting you spank her butt, she is not single. Come on, man. Just kidding. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe. I don't know. I'm learning. I'm trying to learn this shit, man. I need it. The point I'm trying to make is that you should always be playful and open to meeting different women. One good thing to understand is that dating courtship and love should always be playful. You should always be having a good time. Okay, so basically he was saying like, okay, she may have a boyfriend, but a lot of women are in relationships and that they don't want to be in. And they're just kind of looking for a way out, or they're kind of testing the waters to eventually move away from that guy at the last second. Hey, I've been there, done that. Why won't you answer my call? We didn't have any serious conversations. They're all humorous and funny. We were sharing stories and making each other laugh. The next morning, we were all saying goodbye. She came over, gave me a hug, and said, Corey, I had a lot of fun. I had a really good time with you. That was it. If she had been single, I would have gone for the kiss, and we'd have probably have had a lot more fun on the trip. This also goes back to another point I mentioned earlier. Don't go into a relationship, any kind of relationship, with the thought of what you can get out of it. You should go into the relationship to give. This woman had a boyfriend. I knew that. I knew I wasn't going to get anything serious out of our time together, so I made it a fun experience for the both of us. That's how you need to approach all the relationships and women in your life. Always go into it to have fun, be playful, and just be strong, confident, centered guy. And let me add on to that, and make sure her boyfriend is not around when you're spanking her on the booty. Okay, so 149, page 149. We will pick up on part 7 next time. Thank you for your time. If you made it to I'm sorry the video was so long. I'm sorry that I had to throw in my 2 cents, but I'm trying to do a little bit something different here. And thank you for your time. And also in the link in the about section, there is a PayPal and a GoFundMe. I would really appreciate it if you would donate any amount that you would like. I'm trying to raise money to start a company. It's really hard all my money's going into my bills, and I need a little extra help. If you can help me, thank you. If you can't help me, go donate to Corey Wayne. Seriously, go donate to either me or him. Mainly him. He's super rich, but still, he still has to make money. All right, guys, thank you for your time. See you next time in part 7. Have a good night. Bye.